I am back from Egypt. I got back about a week ago, and I'm so glad that we have planned this upcoming workshop this weekend. It's April 23rd and 24th. The way that we're doing it, we've done it before. Oh, hi, Samson. Good boy. The format works really well. It's 2 different sessions on Saturday and then 2 different sessions on Sunday. It's 2 hours on of channeled messages, 2-hour break, and then 2 hours on each day. So it tends to work really well, even if you do have other plans. That tends to allow a nice kind of breather in between the messages. And I recognize that for a lot of you, it's almost like it's too much of an ask to invite you into a weekend workshop where you have no idea like what you're going to get out of this and what the topics will be and things like that. So I did. Sorry, I'm all tickly with allergies with my nose. I did ask my team over the last couple of days, like, do we have any insight into what we will be covering? Knowing that I received a lot of different energy patterns and operating systems, and I want to say codes and cosmic ingredients from the 2-week client trip to Egypt. Do we have any sense of like what we will be talking about? Because I know when we did a weekend workshop, very similar in format to this 2 years ago, we ended up giving a completely fresh view on the simulated reality theory hypothesis. That was so good. It was so good. And I've never studied the simulated hypothesis or simulated reality. I've never studied those types of things, so I didn't know what was already out there. People that participated in that workshop that resonated with it are still feeling the benefits of that new way of thinking about things. It was like a software update, or maybe it was a firmware update. Who knows? Anyway, so I do have the outline, as obviously it is subject to change, but let me read to you what came through. Okay, and I'll put this in writing as well in the description of this video. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so part 1, transcendence, what it is, how you do it, and who tends to even try. The differences between transcendence and ascension, and why we prefer to focus on transcendence, not ascension. Part 2 is time cycles, the ages and transcendence, and that includes what the ages mean to us and why. Part 3 is what is more important than ages, and the teaser there is what's possible at all ends of spectrums. Part 4 is pathways for even easier transcendence for all, plans and trials in place, the biggest hurdles to transcendence, and our advice for individuals, seekers and non, avoiding the biggest hurdles. Additional advice for living an enjoyable life, 1 metric for an overall enjoyable life. Yeah, I like this part. Okay. So 1 metric, and we'll give you this as a teaser as well, is whether the life is one that you'd willingly live again, even just as it was. So lots of information there. These are big ideas. You can probably feel that even from just reading those 4 parts, since this is a 4-part workshop. The way that we use these workshops is to offer a completely different framework that better suits the widest range of soulfulness that you are, and most readily accessing it in this life. No matter what other lifetimes you have had or are having, no matter what you know or don't know, we strive for immediate full access to your soulful range. And we are consistently providing a better expectation, a fairer and truer expectation about what that means. There are so many misconceptions within spirituality and consciousness and philosophy and religions about what it means to live a transcendent life and what it means to be ascended, and a lot of false and sometimes silly expectations about what that looks like within a human being. So we love to offer a different, obviously we intend for it to be an updated and upgraded perspective about all of those things, so that you can be your most amazing human, and so can everyone else. My deepest hope for all of our work is that humans are updated individually, and however that turns out collectively. But when we are more individually upgraded and operating from versions of greatness that our mind can't even imagine, let alone the brain trying to access it or muster it up, we are better equipped to face the problems that that do occur within humanity and do occur in this reality. We are better equipped to handle sorrow and grief and healing. We are more inspired to a better version of solution for everything that does happen, everything that could happen in this reality. I know from my own experience and the transcendent energies that I access, which is not via the gifts that I embody, it's through the energies that I create and access as my Jill. Okay, I know there's this intense preoccupation with gifts and abilities, and that is also something that we're trying to kind of peel people away from. It's not about the gifts and abilities. It's how you feel the closeness to spirit, to source, to your greatness, and to the greatness of that is the essence and opportunity for all life, to feel its greatness. It's so interesting to me. I feel like we all need a breath. It's interesting to me and incredibly dismaying to me how readily humans want to suppress their own greatness, ideas of greatness within humanity. There's glorification of death, and that somehow at death we can be great, but while we're human, that's not possible, or it's not possible for them, or it's only possible for a chosen few. There's just a lot of downplaying the opportunity that all human life has within its life, within its present life, not just after it learns lessons, not just after it reaches some mythical level, right? Being your best self shouldn't be so hard. It shouldn't be based on having like a lucky life. It shouldn't be based on having somehow avoided any pain or suffering or trauma or abuse. The definition of transcendence is greatness beyond one's experience and greatness beyond one's human abilities. That means it's available to everyone. Why wouldn't it be? Okay. Yeah. So for those that are led to this very different type of experience this weekend, if you can't make it live, that's totally okay. That's obvious, especially in the global community, that the times will not work out for everybody. We do our best. I have to make sure that's something that I can show up for. And we record all of it. It'll be in an audio version. It will be in a video version. I even promise to offer a transcript of everything that we offer this weekend. So when you register, you'll, yes, get live access. And yes, you'll also get those recordings and that transcript, okay? Some of us are very visual. And some people get maybe overly occupied by the video visual. And it isn't about me or what I look like. So those that are more visually oriented, that transcript can probably be really helpful. So that'll be in a PDF, and then you can print it off or just read it on your whatever screen and viewer you use. Okay. I encourage you to try this out. This is for everyone. Over the past 3 to 4 years, we have been very intentional about using everyday language that anyone can understand. We use terms that are common in Webster's dictionary or any sort of psychological or philosophical kind of venue. We have intentionally sort of stepped away from some of the more new age or more woo-woo or more spiritual verbiage, because it is such a turnoff to so many people. And it is too confusing and too easily misunderstood and misinterpreted. And we pride ourselves on being as clear as possible with everything that we share. I admit that where it's hard for me to be clear is in explaining what we're going to do or what we have done. I am really not gifted at the selling side. I'm not gifted at the summation side. Trying to summarize what we do in 8 hours together is really not my strong suit. So I really value those of you that can summarize what we do and why we do it. I try, but it feels impossible to convey the importance, the meaningfulness, the depth and the soulfulness that we invite you into in yourself by me embodying that in myself. What you may also find different about our work is I am not pretending to be perfect. I am very capable of accessing advanced wisdom that is beyond my humanness as Jill. I am so grateful that I can do that without pretending or implying or promising any degree of human perfection on my part. Yeah, thank God, literally, that's not required. I have compassion towards other channelers that are feeling differently about themselves or differently about you, or you need to reach a certain level of idealism or spirituality or certain level of purity and clearing before you can access or understand or appreciate such wisdom, love, compassion, grace, knowledge, and occupy that within yourself. That would just take too long. It would be too hard. It's too easy within our humanness to be fragile and flawed. Luckily, those imperfections cannot get in the way of the transcendent energy that all life is and that all soulful layers are. We don't stop being soulful when we created the human that we are to be. I created this Jill that I get to be in this lifetime, and I get to decide what that is. I'm not following a script. I don't believe that I was destined to do this work. I can easily still see the scenario where I'm in corporate, or that I didn't create a business and I don't do this work, and I just enjoy the other ways that I enjoy myself in this world. I know for a lot of spiritual hearted beings, they feel like they are in service to their gifts. I do it very differently. I feel like my gifts are in service to me, and I get to decide if I use them, how I use them, whether I share them, whether I don't share them, whether I utilize them for myself or not. I'm not in service to my gifts. My gifts are in service to me. My sense of spiritual guides, or what I call my team, my sense of my higher self. Similarly, I don't feel like my humanness or your humanness is in service to that. I feel like a huge upgrade and update is that range of you, not vibration, that range of you is so much better visualized and operated as in service to you. As the humans, we have the hardest job. This is a very strange reality. And it is so easy to misunderstand source and disregard ourselves and disregard our humanness, or disregard humanness in general. There are just so many ways to get things confused in this reality. And that, let's say, wiser, wider range of us wants to be in service to us. So that's another kind of major flipping over that I know I've benefited from, and I love to offer insights and strategies like that to my community. We just had, the 20 of us had an amazing experience in Egypt, where we were able to feel and enjoy some of the most incredible temples that have truly stood the test of time. And one reminder that we had one morning as we were on the bus on the way to one of the sites, I felt led to walk up to the front of the bus, and our Egyptologist is often at the microphone talking about the facts and figures and all the great knowledge that she has. And occasionally I feel led to go up and also take the mic and share something. And one thing that I shared one day, probably about day 2 or 3 into the 14-day experience, was, it was something to the effect of, and I didn't record it actually, now that I think about it. As we're on our way to this next site, you get to decide how you experience this place. You can be behind your phone or camera trying to capture like what you're seeing so that you have a record of it. You can try to caption it with like which temple this is and what city it's in, and what it means historically according to somebody's record of history. You can feed off of the temple as you're trying to gain from it whatever secrets and energy stored it has for you. And you can also experience it as your fully occupied human, no phone even near you. And you can give to the temple. You can bring your fullness into it and just appreciate it and just wonder about it and let yourself feel whatever you feel without needing to even begin to record anything that you try to share with anyone that's not there with you and not there for themselves. In my version of that, at the temple of Edfu, the temple in Edfu, it's the temple of Horus. As we heard kind of a lecture of the site, and I shared my favorite parts of the site with the participants that were there with us, I felt led to sing. There are these sort of chambers that are on the sides of the main corridor, at the main offering area at the front of the temple. And I went into each one by one, and that was during our free time. So I went in and I just wanted to sing in this temple, and I just sang this. I've begun to like country music, which is still a surprise to me. About a month ago, I started liking country music for some reason. So I started singing in one of these chambers, and it's covered in glyphs. I've been in it 2 times before, and probably in that room more than once as my Jill, because I return to different rooms sometimes. And I just started singing, and I think it was Elaine, one of our cosmic friends that was on the trip with us. She came in and she was kind of listening and smiling as she wandered around in there and having her own experience. And then I think Suzanne walked by, and I just let it go. And the acoustics were amazing. It felt so good. It felt like I was turning on switches in this space. And then as I left that chamber, I walked into the next one and the next one. And as I walked into the others, I just felt this sort of original tune within myself. So I was humming it. And then I felt words I wanted to put to it. And it came to me the word inshallah, which in an Arabic country, even as they're saying something as simple as, well, we'll have lunch at 2:00, inshallah, And then we'll have rest time, inshallah. And then tomorrow we'll inshallah. And they toss in this word inshallah as they're speaking about anything. And inshallah, as I interpret it from what they've described, it's like if God's willing, in God's will, with God's blessing. So as I'm walking into these chambers and I felt this tune, I added the words inshallah. And it felt so amazing to use an Arabic word that I knew that the security guard that we'd hired, our private security, and what I call the guardians of the site, and their gowns. I always forget the name, but I always forget the word of the gown that the men wear, the traditional gown. But as I was singing it, the security guard, I felt somebody humming behind me, and I turned around, and it's our security guard in his full suit. He's packing the gun, and he's humming it with me, and he's smiling. He's got the smile on his face. So he picked up the tune. It was a simple little tune, right? And then one of the guardians came in, and he just beamed, and he's like this. So then he was excited about the singing. And I said, I'm going to sing in every one of these chambers before I leave. And it just felt so good to give back to the temple. So when I travel to these places that feel like another version of home, that feel like a place that I and you too may have had a part in designing and creating and utilizing as priests and priestesses in another era of human life, I wanted to give something back to it that felt, inshallah. So as I got done with my singing to the temple of Horus, I walked by our tour manager, Ahmed, and he looked at me and he smiled. He said, they were coming to tell me, can you hear her? Can you hear Jill? This is the third time I've been there, and most of them know that. Can you hear Jill? She's singing. She's singing to the temple. She's singing for us. And he said, they just keep coming to me so excited that you're doing this, and they can feel it. And the chief inspector of the site, as I walked around one of the corners, he was sitting on the ground on a step, and he was just, his head was kneeling, it was kind of leaning against one of the walls. It wasn't one of the columns. And his eyes were just closed, and I could just feel he was so beautifully in his bodysuit. And as I walked by, I think he felt that I was nearby, and he just he looked at me and he just went, like, you get it. And he's the chief inspector of this temple. He's lived near it his whole life. And he's in charge of it. And he can feel it, that we're coming with a state of respect and reverence and honor, and yes, wanting to learn, but also with something to share. We weren't pulling on him. We were alongside him as a peer, respecting this place and what it still means to a version of us that is transcendent, that is beyond our humanness and beyond our current incarnation. So, yeah. Oh, so I don't know why I shared that, but I know some of you are wondering what the song was, and I can't remember it either. So I'm going to find that voice memo, because I didn't want to forget it either. And knowing that it wasn't recorded anywhere. Inshallah, 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 inshallah. And that is what we sang in the Temple of Horus. I'm glad I recorded that because I would have forgotten what it was. And I don't know if that means anything to you. But again, it just came to me when I was in the temple, and I'm so glad I followed my heart. I'm so glad we had free time. I'm glad I didn't get in anyone else's way while I was doing it. I was letting everyone else have their own experience, wasn't imposing it or forcing it on anyone. I tend to like to do all of my work that way, where it's offered, it's not forced. I am very opinionated about what I sense and feel, and I'm guided as an upgrade. And I'm very passionate about trying to offer that in a very clear way. But I am not telling you you're doing something wrong, but I will tell you when I think there's a better way to think about something or to, I have opinions, but I'm not pretending I know better than you do about anything, okay? You get to decide for yourself what you believe and what you think is right and what you think is wrong, and what you agree with and what you disagree with. My main focus is to be clear about another item on the menu so that all of this transcendence, enlightenment, and being a version of ourselves that we would want to live again is as easy, as simple, and straightforward as possible. That is my goal. That is my work, and that is my mission. So it's another item on the menu, if you will, of choices in our humanity. I know some people are, I know I can ruffle feathers. It's not my favorite part of my job, but I'm willing to do it because of that goal. I don't like it when things are harder than they need to be. And I really don't like it when some menu item, if you will, of belief, philosophy, consciousness, psychology, promises to do something that it actually doesn't do. Promises to offer healing when really it just creates more suffering. Promises to provide connection to one source energy when really it just creates further separation from source energy. Promises to offer wisdom when really it isn't wise at all. Promises perfection, which nobody should be promising. Promises afterlife experiences that, again, one should never promise. Promises that things will be easier if they just do certain things. And that is also, this place is more complicated than that. And the afterlife is similarly complicated. So anyway, so you are cordially invited to the workshop this weekend. I hope you say yes. From a technical perspective, if you haven't experienced my website before, I do encourage you to register as soon as possible. It is coming up quick. It's obviously tomorrow, depending on when you're registering. If you do see this afterwards, then you'll obviously get the recordings. If you feel led to register and experience something totally different. And for those of you that are going to try to get in to experience any of it live, I do want to mention, and it is so bright in here. I just want a little better. It just felt too bright. Okay. For those of you that are going to try to get into the workshop live, I use a paywall system. And what that means is the link that you use to purchase, it works for 98% of the people, so easy. And then there's some people that may be on like an older system, or they use an outdated browser, or they may use an outdated software system or operating system. Sometimes there's little bugs that can happen. So especially for those of you that know that you tend to experience tech glitches, register as soon as you possibly can, and then test out the links, make sure you're in. With the paywall system, the main mistake that people make is that they purchase and then they're not signed in. So all they see is the invitation to register. They don't see the welcome layer of the paywall, which you get once you purchase and once you are signed in. So the paywall layer is behind the public layer at this very same link. And on that layer, it says welcome. And it has all the times, and it has all the access codes. This is the convenient Zoom link that you'll need. It's so easy. But I know that I totally understand, especially doing this for more than 10 years now, that some people and technology are just a bit like this. So And in that case, maybe you'd rather just receive the recordings, and it would possibly be easier, and then you wouldn't have the stress of, oh, what time do I need to be there, and that type of thing. I don't want it to be stressful. I don't like my life to be stressful. Life is stressful enough. Let's just try to keep it easy. The energies of the recordings, I have zero concern that they will be less, they are going, I promise, I am 100% confident that the recordings will be just as meaningful as the live event and the live channeled experience. You do not need to be there live to experience all that will be offered in this workshop. Relatedly, there are so many layers of everything that we do that it happens consistently ever since I started. That every time you listen to something or watch something, you will hear and receive and create, something new and refreshing and upgraded every time you listen. And it's the same recording. It's so cool. To me, it's a sign of the multidimensionality that you and I are using when we are partnering together. Okay, I hope that's helpful. The link for the workshop is right in the description below, and that link will work whether you are trying to get into the live event or whether you are curious about purchasing the recordings of the events. Okay, I love you guys. Bye-bye for now. If you're not ready to make the commitment of this workshop, then I highly recommend just checking out any of the podcasts. They're free. They're on my YouTube channel. Go into any time period of, you could go to the most recent ones backwards, you can go in the middle, they don't need to be done in order. There are things I do that are meant to be in order, like the Labyrinth series. There's premium subscription material that we purchase that can be done in any order. Those are amazing and very deep and very fulfilling. And yeah, they're just different. We do things very differently. And I hope that you can feel that. I am very focused on you feeling the light that you are.